For this course, we'll be using PostgreSQL DBMS for learning structured query language, or the so-called SQL. PostgreSQL is a powerful open-source object relational database system. It runs on all major operating systems, including Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. The data types in PostgreSQL include integer, numeric, Boolean, char, varchar, date, interval, and timestamp. It also supports storage of binary large objects, including pictures, sounds, or videos. It has native programming interfaces for C/C++, Java, Perl, Python, TCL, ODBC, and exceptional documentation. The PostgreSQL homepage and documentation are available at www.postgresql.org. So let's click that link. It will take us to the home page of PostgreSQL. To find all the user menus, you have to click Documentation. And since the server version installed on the CIS department server is 9.4.3, you have to select 9.4 from the under the Online menus, which will take you to the Table of Content page of this documentation. There are a bunch of stuff on this page, and you don't have to read all, and you don't have time to. Here are the most important parts. Part 1, Tutorial. Make sure you read Chapter 2, the SQL language, which gives you a short introduction to SQL basics and syntax. However, the most comprehensive language details of SQL are included in Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, you don't have to read anything again. Just make sure you read Chapters 4 to 11. The next important part is server programming, or Part 5. This is where you learn how to write SQL functions, how to use procedural languages, for example, PL/PGSQL, to write SQL procedures and functions, and how to use and write triggers, which is a mechanism for enforcing database constraints. In this class, all students are required to use the PostgreSQL installed on cisdb.cis.uab.edu. This is the server address for the database. You will have to use this server name, server string, in the connection string you use to connect to the PostgreSQL database. To use the generic SQL interface of PostgreSQL, you will need a SSH tool such as PuTTY or the terminal tool on Mac OS to connect to the database. If you do not already have PuTTY installed on your computer, here's the link you can follow to download the application and install it on your computer. Really, if you go to the download page, okay, let me show you. It's a simple application. It's a simple executable file with the extension exe for Windows system. Okay, so you just click the putty.exe and drag the downloaded file to your desktop. That's what I do for convenient use. I will get back to this PuTTY tool later when I show you how to connect to your database created on the database server at its CIS. Here's how your PostgreSQL accounts are set up. First, a CIS account will be created for you if you do not yet have one, and you will receive an email from CIS IT Help Desk after the account is created. After that, a PostgreSQL database will be created again automatically for you afterwards, which has the same name as your CIS account. For instance, a CIS account by the name GeoUser will have a database named GeoUser as well. Okay? In addition, 2 database user accounts are created for each CIS account. For example, for user Joe user, his CIS account name is Joe user. Two database user accounts. One is Joe user and another is Joe user web will be automatically created. This Joe user database user account should be used to connect to the database from local command line sessions and code, which is run locally in a shell. This user's password is the same as your password for your CIS account. For the Joe user web account, this should be used to connect to the database from a web or end user application. This is to protect your CIS user password from being exposed to the user server/end user applications. And this user has a temporary password assigned, which is stored internal to the database server. And whenever you change your CIS account password, it will automatically change the password of Joe user. But it will not change the password of Joe user web. So please always use this Joe user web user account to access your database, create tables, perform queries, and write functions. I will show you how to log in into your database using this Joe user web account. And before using your Joe user web account for the first time, you need to change the password for that account. To do this, you first need to log into your database from the command line using the Joe user account, and then run the SQL command as below, which says select change underscore web underscore user underscore password, and your new password enclosed in a pair of single quotes. You need to replace this new password here with whatever password you desire. If you don't see an error message, the password was changed successfully. And to log into your database using your web user account, you need to run the following command. PSQL, okay, -H, H stands for host. CISDB is the server name for the database, minus capital U allows you to specify the user name. Okay, in this case, as I suggested, you should always use your web user account to access your database. -D is an option that allows you to specify the actual database. In this case, your database name is the same as your CIS account name, which is Joe user. And after the prompt, enter your web account password. Okay, not your Joe user password, but your Joe user web password. I will show you how in a complete session. As you can see, I already have PuTTY installed on my computer and ready to execute. PuTTY is really a executable file, so no actual installation is needed. To execute it, you only need to double-click it. Click Run, and a new login session will start. Under the host name field, you will have to type the name of the SSH gateway of CIS, which is moat, M-O-A-T, .cis.uab.edu. Click Open, or just simply hit Return. A new login session will start. After logging as, type in your CIS account name, which is Zan in my case. That's actually my last name, and your CIS account password. And from there, you can connect to your database. I like to use bash, B shell, so I will type bash to switch to B shell. Okay, all right. From there, you can type the connection string. Remember, before you use your web database user account for the first time, you will have to change its password. This is how you can do it. First, you need to log in into your database using your regular username. Okay, PSQL -H. This is where you specify the name of the database server, which is CISDB in our case. and minus big U. This is where you specify the name of the user you want to access the database, which is my CIS account name in this case, and minus D, small d. This is where you specify the database you want to access. Remember, your database name is always the same as your CIS account name. So again, it is Zan, my last name. And this is where you type your password for your regular database user account, which is Zan. And in this case, it will be exactly the same as your CIS account password. So I'm going to type that again. You're in, okay? Or I'm in. So after this prompt, here's how you can change the password for your web user account. That is Zan web. Okay, so select. In PostgreSQL, every function or procedure is invoked by this select, which is not part of the standard SQL, of course. Select change underscore web underscore user underscore password and your new password. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and semicolon. Okay, that will trigger the execution of the select statement. And this is PostgreSQL's way of invoking a function. So if you see something like this, that means the password of your web user account has been successfully changed. Okay, and to see if the new password, whether the new password takes effect, first you can log out of the database by typing \Q. Okay, Q stands for quit. Okay, this will put you back into your command line. Then let's connect to the database again, but this time we're going to connect with my web user account. Okay. Okay, so the only thing you need to change is the username. So since my web username is ZanWeb, I'm going to add web to the end of Zan. Okay, the database name stays the same. And type enter. And this time you will have to enter your new password, which is 123456 for ZanWeb, your web user account. So let's try that. 123456. Okay, I'm in. Okay. All right, that's as simple as it is. Okay, and after you get into the generic SQL interface of PostgreSQL, you can type commands or issue SQL statements or database creation or update statements all through that generic user interface. Okay, for example, one of the most commonly used commands is to display all the tables in your database. Okay, since I already have a few tables, this is what I do. This is the command I will be using to display all of them. You can type \D. D stands for display, T stands for tables, and hit return. And that will give me a list of all the tables currently in my database. Okay, and to see the actual schema of an individual table, this is what you can do. Again, use \D. D stands for describe in this case. Okay, \D, white space, and pick any of the tables from a list above, for example, sales. Okay, hit return, and it will show me what columns are in the table sales and the data type of each of its columns. And at the end, it says check constraint. And there's some Boolean expressions that define the check constraint for this table, which we shall discuss later in the semester. Okay, and to exit your database, again, remember to type \Q. Okay, and sometimes you may also want to display all the functions in your database. For that, the command to use is \D. Again, D stands for describe. F stands for functions. That will give you the list of all the functions in your database. Currently, I only have one. That is the change web user password function we just invoked. Okay, and whenever you saw this end thing on the bottom of the screen, that means the screen display is using a screen-oriented text editor called VI to display the result returned by executing a command. So how to exit from this screen, from this text editor? It's very simple. You just type colon and Q. Again, Q stands for what? Quit. Okay, so that will bring you back to the prompt in the generic SQL interface. Okay, so let's now quit from this, exit this database connection session. Okay. This slide recaps how to use PuTTY to access the PostgreSQL at CIS remotely. You need to first use your CIS account and password to log into one of the Vulkan machines at CIS through the SSH gateway called moat.cis.uab. Then you need to connect to your database using one of your usernames. Okay, and it's required that all of your database projects are developed under the username your web user account. Okay, so always use your web user account for all of your assignments and projects. And this slide lists some common commands in PostgreSQL. We have seen some of them already. For example, display all the tables, \DT, and display all the database elements in your table in your database, \D. Okay, to display all the database views in your database, \DV, and to display all the functions, \DF.